So here we are back with another inbox review. I will be following this one up with a build. I'm trying to do that with the inbox reviews because I find that a lot more helpful. So you actually see what the kit goes together like. It's all very well looking at looking at it in the box, but there's no real way to tell how the fit's going to be. So stay tuned to the channel, and that build will be coming shortly, hopefully. So the box is very good because this is just a sort of retail cover, basically. The actual box is extremely sturdy. It's a strong corrugated cardboard affair, so that's always good. I wouldn't mention the box generally, but in this case it's very strong, so you can rely on the stuff being pretty well protected. I've got a couple of extras for this. There are no seatbelts in this kit, so I've got a set from Edward here, and these are actually for the Type 29, but I think, I'm going out on a limb here, I think from the Type 10 up it was the same seat belts all the way through, so that's what I've gone for. So hopefully I'm correct there, and there's no Spanish version in my one, so I wanted to do a Spanish version, and I've picked CM225, so that's just a set of Montex masks. It is worth mentioning that ICM have also released two Decal sets, which I'll be showing now in the corners. One for Spanish Civil War I-16s, which this Type 10 especially was known for, as well as being used in China. And they are currently available, so you've got one for the Republican side, which is during the war, and then you've got, as they call it, post-war on the nationalist side. So you've got some there that are a little bit more colourful, much like this here. In fact, I'm pretty sure these two are on each Decal sheet. Anyway, so there we go. So with the box out the way, we've got a nice instruction sheet here, which is a little booklet, and what's very good from my point of view, and I think this is a good base to start with, is the paint callouts are running through Revel, which, you know, fair enough, but Tamiya. So Tamiya is I find a very good base to start from. If you want to use different colours, it's quite easy to use the Tamiya range and then work out what's what. So that's useful. Now as we go through, there's the decals, as you can see. Get to them in a little bit. And here you can see there's quite a lot of stuff blanked out, and this pretty much utilises most of the parts, I think. I'm not sure which it is, but so they've done the Type 24, 28 and 29, I believe, and then we're back down to the Type 10. We've got this release, and then we've also got a Chinese release as well. Now this obviously, there's a couple of differences from the Type 10 as it went on through into the Type 28, and that's mainly the lower wing, which you've got a brand new piece here. We're pretty much looking at E, pretty much what turns this into a Type 10. So we've got a right hand side of the fuselage, which is a new piece, new propeller, new engine cover, and a new lower wing, and then a section for the lower part of the engine there as well with the exhaust outlets. As far as I can tell, pretty much everything else is the same as the other kits. And there you can see what's blanked out, so we're obviously not going to be using too much of that. Starting with the wings, which is unusual but makes sense for this type of aircraft. So you get the whole affair together, run on into the cockpit. It's quite nice to see the cockpit floor is a strip running between the bulkheads, which is how it was in the actual aircraft. Usually that's presented, certainly with the Azur kit, which is the only real contender to this. It basically is just a floor that butts in between the two sides of the fuselage, so it's nice to see we've got that at least close to being correct. Then on through here you can see that the cockpit starts to build up. We've got a nice big instrument panel there, which there is a Decal for, and there's quite a bit going on the sidewalls here. It was a very basic aircraft, but for what should be there, it seems as though it is there, so that's very good. And as you can see, it's interesting that they've gone ahead and allowed for workable rudder and elevators by clipping between these two sort of clasps like that, and then it spins in between like that. So hopefully that's not too gimmicky and it doesn't look too sort of toy-like. Hopefully that can be tight enough to be utilised, because it's nice to kick the rudder a little bit and have the elevators dropped. It's always a nice touch. And as you can see, we're flying through the construction. We're only in sort of this is the next page over, really. So we've got the fuselage coming onto the wing section, then we've got a full engine And I'm hoping that as we go around here that these panels are actually correct in where they would come off. So I'm going to do a bit of research on that, because it would be great to be able to show that engine off, and even if you're clever enough, you might be able to get things sanded and sorted out in a way that they actually clip on quite nicely, and then you can leave them removable. But ICM is notorious for providing all this lovely detail, and then the access panels don't actually come off, so you've got to cover it all up anyway. But there is an engine there if you want to go ahead and use it. A flimsy undercarriage, which is typical of the I-16, as you can see, going all together with the very sort of precarious placement of the landing bay doors. But this looks as though it's actually pretty confident in the way that they all join up together. I remember in the Azur kit it was awful. And then wheels going on, and then final touches with the guns and a few small additions. So looks relatively simple, and I'm hoping it's going to be. Marking options out of the box, we've got, so the markings in the box here, we've got the first two here are actually from aircraft used during the Khalkhin Gol engagement, which is basically a war between Japan and Russia just before the Second World War, which wasn't really declared as an actual war, but it did kick off a little bit over that side of things. And these are for July 1939, so that's an interesting choice. Again, it's sort of the interwar period right at the end, and that's when these were used. They weren't massively front line when it came to the German invasion of Barbarossa and such like. They were pretty much pushed aside for the later variants, but these did get a sort of run out in Spain, in China, and in this Soviet-Japanese offensive. So it's interesting with those two, and that's probably the pick of the bunch. This colourful one here with the two and the very iconic Soviet star. Then going over the page, we've got another two here. So this is summer 1941. These are Barbarossa campaign I-16s. But as I said, these aren't front line. These are more sort of rushed in to make up part of the front line. There was a lot of I-16s here, but this was a little bit out of date. And as you can see, again, very plain, similar stuff. It's what you expect for Russian aircraft. Light blue underneath, olive drab over the top, and then large identifier markings. So we've got the 23 and the 15 there. So we've got a nice large decal sheet here, quite sizable decals there. Here's the instrument panel decal. From my point of view, very cleverly sort of designed, and I believe, just checking in the instructions, that there is a back plate that the decal fixes to show through. Yes, it is. So you've got this back plate here. You've got C27, you put the decal on that, and it should show through the face of D3. And if I remember rightly, D3 is a clear piece here. We'll look at that when we get into the box, but hopefully that clear piece has those parts drilled out. That would be useful, otherwise it's going to be a very pain to mask all of those up, but we'll get to that in a bit. So as we're going through, obviously you can see plenty of Soviet stars. The letters are very well defined. It's extremely good, but the carrier film is quite a large block. So on this 5 you've got quite a large amount of carrier film running right the way through, so I would suggest trying to cut around that, but obviously that then creates problems for decal placement, so it can be an issue. You have to make up your own mind on that. It's very tight around the stars, the carrier film, it's right up to it, so that's useful. Me personally, even though I've got the mass set, I'll still be using this piece here, which is I forget what that's called now. I was only reading an article about this, but anyway, that's pretty much the only piece of stencil data for the aircraft. So this and this is also replicated on the other decal sheets for this particular kit that ICM have released. And now getting into the kit, it's all in one bag, all loosely packed together, with the clear parts in there as well. This is very typical, all ICM kits tend to come like this. And then we've got the clear parts separately wrapped. So I think we'll have a look at those first. Now, always a bit of a difficult time when you've got your clear parts. You hope to have scratches and blemishes to a minimum, if not missing completely. So the instrument panel is not drilled out. So I'm not sure what the best way around that would be. Maybe you could let me know in the comments if you've got an idea. I guess just dropping in a little bit of Maskell is probably going to be the cleanest way to do it. Then you probably want these bezels to be black. I think from memory that like the back plate, the actual instrument panel is like a sort of charcoaly grey, so like rubber black for instance, and then it's pure black for the actual bezel edges, and then you want the clear part with the decal to show through. So, well, that's an interesting approach. We'll see how that goes. I suppose it would have been easier if they were actually open. Then you could have done it all and then used PVA glue to finish it off. Obviously, you could drill those out. That's not beyond the realms of possibility. But I think, well, I'll probably go down the Maskell route and hope for a sort of clean edge when it comes to it. There we've got the canopy. As it were. And I, unfortunately, have a great big mark right in the centre of it. It almost looks like a bubble. I have no idea how to get around that, unfortunately. So that's a bit of a pain. There you can see that blemish there just in the middle? We're looking just here. It's very hard to show this on camera, but yes, I've got that on mine, which is a bit of a pain. Otherwise, unfortunately, it's actually very clear all the way around. It's pretty good, but yeah, that's right in the middle. And I'm pretty sure, let's just check, we'll give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm pretty sure there's nothing in the windscreen on the Type 10. There is a gun sight in there. Yes. No, there's a gun sight in there. There you go. So the gun sight goes onto the top of the fuselage, but there's nothing attaching to the canopy. Or the windscreen. So that's a pain. I'll have to work out how to sort that out and maybe try and contact ICM to see if I can get a new windscreen sent out. But that's the trouble. Like I said when I was opening it, you sort of it's a bit of a lottery with these things. So here's the first sprue. It's a nice large sprue here, and everything is very well placed, and it's there's no damage here from transport from what I can see. You've got two fuselage halves there, one of which we won't be using. I think it's this one because of this panel presumably, and as you can see it's pretty crisp. There's nice fabric detail going across these horizontal stabilizers and on the elevators here as well. Or is that the rudder? That might be the rudder. No, that's the rudder. Oh right, okay, that's the tops of the horizontal stabilizers, right? And that's the one piece, as you can see here, and these cutouts with the bar running through is actually where the clasps for each bit, as you can see here, sort of catch hold of it, and then you can make it workable. But all in all, it looks very good. There's some nice rim detail there to the wheel hub, and it's a smooth wheel tyre, so even though it's in two halves, a smooth tyre, sorry, even though it's in two halves, it should be okay to sand that back. Then we've got the sprue that's actually specific to this. So we've got a new underside of the wing there with fabric detail running all the way across these parts, and then this is all metal running into a wooden frame. We've got a new propeller, a tail skid, a new propeller hub, and the very iconic cover to the engine there, which looks extremely I-16 like to me. It's all looking very good, and that propeller's nice as well. It's all very nice, to be honest. All the panel lines are extremely refined. We've got raised and recessed detail all the way through here, with rivets running around the wheel bays there, or wheel wells, and there is no panelling on the actual fuselage half, although there is sink marks from these large parts here. So where you've got those bracing strips running down the side of the fuselage and across, that is all showing up on the outside, and you can feel it. It is not just showing up. There's certainly something there. So I mean, these are a little bit sort of popped about, if you know what I mean, like sort of show stress skin, as it were, when you actually see them up close. And in real life. Not that I've seen one of these, but I was watching a video of a real one, and you could see it was all sort of bent and panelled, because I think it's wooden panelling all across. But still, I mean, you know, you don't want that, so we're going to have to put that as a notch against ICM here. That should be smooth. I'm sure it'll fill in easy enough. But apart from that, I think everything else is pretty good. Yeah, there's sort of marbling in the actual plastic, but that's nothing to worry about. So let's go back and have a look at the fuselage side here. Yes, there is. We've got the same thing happening here as well. So, you know, whether you're going to put that down as stress skin or whether you're going to have to fill that and make it smooth is up to you. I think I'll be trying to fill that and just sand it back a bit, take it down a little bit. That is a pain. You don't expect that really from a manufacturer. That's, you know, they've had some good results recently, so it would have been nice for them to try and sort of cut that sort of thing out. Here we've got the engine, so that is cut in half between the cylinder heads there. The sort of, I forget what it's called now, but the flanges here, or the raised part, shall we say, on the cylinder heads are nicely done. They are all separate, all round there, but getting the join between the middle sorted out may be a bit of an issue, so something to think about, but I mean, you can't really do it many other ways. All the rest of this is very cleanly moulded, no flash, no mould lines. Well, I suppose there is a hint of mould lines actually. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. It's only in certain areas on the small parts. We've got the guns here as well that are showing, which are actually very nicely done, very crisp. I've got a bent gun barrel there, but you can't do much about that really. Yes, all in all, looks good. All of the exhaust pipes are not hollowed out, and there is a bit of a slip in the mould on these, so that does leave a bit of a mould seam, slightly misshapen, but that should sand round, and then you want to be drilling those out, I would think, in this scale. And then on to the last piece of sprue, which a lot of this is not used. So this wing here is a very similar wing, but all of these panels are eliminated in the Type 10. In fact, let's have a look. How similar is it? Very similar. It's just the panels. That's all it is. They've just taken the panels out. So that's easier. That's better than them saying sand them out, which some manufacturers will. The top parts of the wing are also used in this version, but a few of these bits aren't. So the engine cover there and the propeller hub, that's not used for this variant. Here you can see the panels which make up the engine cowling, and these are the ones I was talking about hopefully being able to be removed, so I'll have to do a bit of research on that, and then you can show the engine off a little bit if you want to. Interior detail there on the landing gear doors, which is quite good. It's very pronounced. Good solid detail there, and if it is meant to be as pronounced as that, well then that's pretty good. But there's a lot going on there. It looks a bit heavy, I must say, but again, I'm coming at that without references, so I can't be sure. But yes, overall, same thing applies. Nice recessed panel lines, low amount to no flash, and low amount of mould seams, but there are some mould lines all around each part, mainly on the smaller parts, I must admit. So that is the new 1/32 Polikarpov I-16 Type 10 from ICM. I think overall in the box that looks like a very good kit. I have got issues in mine with the windscreen, which is a bit of a pain. I will try and sort that out one way or another. I don't think that's fixable looking at it. It's a bubble right in the middle, so I'm not sure where you'd go about fixing something like that. It's not like a mould seam or anything, or a mould line running through it. Overall, regardless of the problems, for me, this is July 2019, so we've just had the release of the Airfix Hellcat. For me, this is my Hellcat. I'm very happy to have this, a new release of this in 1/32 scale. It's been desperate for it. I've built the Azur kit in the past, which was very, very difficult. So from my point of view, I'm very happy with this, and if ICM's listening, please go back and let's get a Type 5-6. I'm sure you could do that in the same boxing, maybe even the 2-seater version as well. And keep the I-16s coming, because it's a very important aircraft. It is overlooked, and it's very, very well liked in the modelling community. It's a very attractive aircraft. So that's my 2 cents on the kit. I'm very happy to have this in my possession. I will be cracking on with a build soon, and hopefully you liked the video. So if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. Give the video a like. Let me know if your thoughts on the kit in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.